Welcome back in episode 10 of the Fourth Down Football Show. I'm your host, Matt. Gonna be joined a little bit later, to talk college football with Mello. Of course, got to cover Oklahoma getting upset by Kansas, Oregon and Utah in a Pac-12 duel, a little USC talk as well on the college football side. Then jumping to the NFL with Kyle. Of course, gotta start with a little New York Giants talk for him. And then also, Chiefs lose to the Broncos, 49ers go down to the Bengals. So yeah, a lot of great football conversation coming up here. Let's jump right into the college football talk with Mello. All right, bringing in our guy Mello. Talk some college football. A little USC, a little UCLA. It's mostly West Coast football this episode. There wasn't any good East Coast football.
No, and West Coast is the best coast, and they showed it again this past week.
Well, we'll stay split on that one, but Oregon and Utah went at it too. A little Pac-12 showdown. But yeah, let's start off with your Trojans, Mello. Another disgusting showing.
Yeah, thank God I didn't watch this. I was at my brother's football game, and I was celebrating my grandfather's birthday over the weekend. And the game was at 1 o'clock, too, so it was like, I'm going to be busy all day. So, I don't want to say I'm disappointed because I've been disappointed enough already with this team this year, but I don't understand how you let a third-string quarterback drop 49 points on you and just the continued message from Lincoln Riley that, everything's going to be okay and we're a click away from it all changing. It's like, for what? It's like, to me, Lincoln Riley was battling with the flu all week and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not reading too much into that because it was like, he was completely healthy a couple weeks ago. We got slaughtered by Notre Dame. So, I'm just disappointed. It shouldn't have to take your defense that as bad as enough as it is already. It shouldn't have taken for them to stop a 2-point conversion to win the game against a Cal team that's just not that good, and the program is just not good, and it hasn't been good in a long time. Hasn't been good. And USC should legitimately be a 5-loss team right now. They have their 2 losses already with Utah and Notre Dame. They should have lost to Arizona a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
They should have lost on Saturday to Cal. And they ended up pulling away, but they should have lost to Arizona State a couple weeks ago too. To me, you're trying to pump up something that is already dead. You're trying to give something life that it's just not there anymore. It's like they legitimately might lose the rest of their games the rest of the season. Because they have Washington coming up this weekend. They got to go to Eugene and play Oregon, which that's an L already. Forget that.
Sure looks like it.
Yeah, and then you got UCLA, and I've been saying this for a while now. It's a rivalry game, and especially the way USC's playing, UCLA is gonna try their hardest to win that game, especially after getting embarrassed last year with DTR in his final year. I've completely lost hope with this team this year. I'm not going to get upset if they lose this weekend. I'm not going to get upset if they lose to Oregon. I will get upset if they lose to UCLA because at the end of the day, it is a rivalry game. And if you can't get up for that, then that's a problem to me. So they control their destiny to get to the Pac-12 championship game, but that's a tall task. That's a tall task. And even if you do all this effort, win all your games, beat whoever in the Pac-12 championship game. It doesn't guarantee you anything.
No.
Like I said, if the Rose Bowl game was not a semifinal game this year, I would still very much be into it with this team this year. Because as bad as it's been, and it's been bad, hey, you get into the Pac-12 championship game, you win that game, you're playing for a Rose Bowl, and it's a big accomplishment. I know we should be playing for national championships, but hey, we've won the Rose Bowl game the most times, and it's still a meaningful game to us out here in Southern California. But this year, that's just not the case. So it's like, why are we gonna go all in, win all these games just to be in the damn Sun Bowl or something? That doesn't sound amusing to me. Or one of these New Year's Six bowls where it's like, we're going to get in the Cotton Bowl game, we're going to lose to James Madison this year. That's what's going to happen. So, I've lost hope, like I said, with this earlier this year, but I don't know what there more is left to say. This defense is just horrible. Horrendous.
You know it's really, really bad when the number 1 overall pick, pretty much guaranteed, Caleb Williams, isn't able to carry the defense at all, really. I mean, and he's carrying it, but like it's dead weight. It's getting heavy at this point. I mean, to start
and the
season,
offense is missing a click too.
It is.
They're not playing great either.
To start the season, it was like, all right, it's when you first started, let's say you had to carry 30 pounds for a mile, you start out, you're like, all right, this isn't too bad. We can make this work. And, by a quarter of the way, you're getting a little tired. You're tripping. We saw that earlier with USC. And then you get halfway through and you're like, this is tough. Exactly. 3/4 of the way through and you're tripping over yourself. You're falling down. And that's sort of what we're seeing here with USC is Caleb Williams is trying his hardest to carry this defense and carry USC. And he's human too, so he's going to have a bad game like he did just last week. So people are going to say it's on him, but like how much can you expect of this guy? He can carry your program, but only sort of. Like he can carry it pretty well, but the defense has to contribute something at this point, which they haven't. And we talked about it before. Is Lincoln Riley just lining this all up? He doesn't really seem to care. Just to leave USC when Caleb Williams leaves too? Could be. You don't have to recruit defensive players in the NFL. That's the GM's job. He just signs them. So...
Yeah, at this point I wouldn't be surprised with that. And it's just crazy how everything turned in a year. Because a year ago at this time we were talking about, hey, USC is going to be the 4th team in the college football playoff this year in year 1 under Lincoln Riley. And we thought this was going to be a 3-4 year build of, okay, we're not going to be contending just yet. We'll be in these games, but we're still a couple steps away. And then, we find ourselves 4 quarters away from the playoff, and then we lose to Utah. And it was like, you know what? We're going to be back. Things are going to get fixed. Everything's going to be okay. Year 2 is going to be better. And, a year from now, the honeymoon's over. The honeymoon is over. The alumni are upset and fired up, and rightfully so. Matt Leinart has been killing USC on Twitter the last couple weeks. Just fans are done with it. They're sick of it. The honeymoon's over. And it's just amazing to me how quickly everything changed from... Because when Lincoln Riley took this job 2 years ago, USC was not in a good spot.
Not at all.
Not in a good spot. Nobody wanted the job. There was a whole bunch of controversies in the school. USC was not a place to be. It was not. And when Lincoln Riley came in, it was like, all right, things are going to change. Maybe things are going to be changed and different. And for 1 year, we saw the change. And now we're going back to the same rotten USC that I unfortunately have grown up with the last 10 years, because I was too young to remember the glory days with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. I was too young to understand that. Carson Palmer, that's not me. I was a little kid. I wasn't knowing what going around. I was a Matt Barkley, Cody Kessler, Sam Darnold. Yeah, I was those guys.
Juju
Smith-Schuster, Adoree Jackson, Marquise Lee. I was those guys. Ronald Jones. Those were my guys growing up. And for the beginning of part of that, there was a whole bunch of sanctions from the Reggie Bush stuff. So it was like, we go 10-2, but it's like, well, you're not playing in any bowl games. So it's like, well, this is no fun. And then they were just bad. And then, going through Steve Sarkisian, Clay Helton, Ed Orgeron, which I miss that dude still. Just, we're going back to the same rotten USC that I've known for the last 10 years, and it's unfortunate. So I hope maybe things will get fixed next year, but who knows? Lincoln Riley will leave, and now we're really going to be screwed. But
yeah,
too far down the line to be thinking about that.
It is. You got to take it one game at a time, one defensive down at a time for USC at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sticking in the Pac-12. Sticking in the Pac-12, though. Oregon, in a nice little top 13 showdown. No, basically a top 10 showdown, but Oregon showed us that their offense is good enough to beat the vaunted Utah defense this year, and Utah basically had no offense in that game at all. Oregon's looked really great, and they lost that one shootout game to Washington, but Washington hasn't lost yet either, so that one loss is one of the best-looking losses this season so far. Maybe Texas's loss to Alabama is up there too, but that loss to Washington is probably one of the best losses this season. And if they can win the Pac-12, I think there's a clear road for Oregon to get to the college football playoff. But this is your two conference pals, I guess. So what do you got on these two?
Pals is a strong word. Yeah, we're in the part. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. We're in the part of the schedule now where all these teams are going to be beating up on each other. You saw the showdown with Oregon and Washington a couple weeks ago. You saw USC and Utah last week. You saw Utah and Oregon a couple days ago. You hit it right on the head. There is a path for the Oregon Ducks to get in and be that fourth team. And, yeah, that loss against Washington looks pretty good. And I think if you would have told me that 2 weeks ago, I would have said you're crazy. Because at the time, it did not look good. Their defense... Oregon was patting themselves on the back all year long about how great this defense was and how Bo Nix was really good. And then they go into Washington and they lose in a shootout. And then their expectations are brought down a little bit. But there is a path. But I'm going to continue to lean to Washington. If they can win out and win this conference, this gauntlet of a conference, which I never thought I'd say that in a million years.
Neither did I.
Yeah, and we're not alone on that. They're going to be the fourth team. The fourth team in the college football playoff. Whether Florida State fans want to hear it or not.
Yeah.
They're going to be. They're going to be. Now, like I said last week, I joked, I'm not kidding. The committee does not stay up and watch these games. So, hopefully, Washington plays USC at 7:30, so hopefully they'll be awake for that this week. They'll put some other games probably in the early window and stuff, so we'll get a chance to see them. But, yeah, good win for Oregon. Going back to them for a second. Good win. And even after that one loss, they didn't completely drop in the rankings, and they should have. They shouldn't have. At this time of year, you just want to hang around. You just want to hang around. Continue to win out your games, and hopefully the teams in front of you slip. And
exactly.
If USC beats Washington this weekend, which there's a chance. I know I just completely said the season was over, but there's a chance. It's at home. You never know. But Oregon's cheering hard for USC this weekend because if they lose to USC, Oregon handles their business, they're going to jump them.
Yep.
And they're going to be right there in the mix. So Oregon's got a best shot as anybody to get in that last spot.
Yeah, definitely. Utah, on the other hand, this sort of squashes your hopes of making college football
You
playoff.
had no shot.
And
had
it's
no
coming
shot.
from a salty USC fan, so
Damn right it is. And
It
I'm proud to
is.
say that. I don't care. I don't care.
Your offense has got to put up more than 6 points in a game like this. I mean, this is college football. This is not the NFL. 6 points is like 3 points.
Makes us
in the
look
NFL.
worse.
It does. It would have been a tough road for you to make the college football playoff or even to win the Pac-12. Because even if you win the Pac-12, I don't think if Utah won the Pac-12, they were going to make the college football playoff because of who they would have had to beat and who would have had to lose for them to get the opportunity to be in. So I don't think they really had a shot, like you said, anyway, but their chances are pretty well gone at this point.
Good.
We're gonna.
Hey, we got no shot. I'm taking everybody down with me.
Hey,
let's go.
That's the right
UCLA,
attitude to
let's
have.
go. Everybody, Colorado, everyone else. Come on. Somebody, Colorado or, Washington or Oregon is going to join us on the couch. So let's all watch it together again. One final
right.
time before we all say goodbye to each other. Let's do what the Pac-12 does best. Watch the college football playoff on the couch.
Hey, you're both.
If they
coming
beat, yeah, exactly. We're both coming over, and we hope we receive a warm welcome.
probably be a cold welcome being in the Northeast, but
Probably
you'll get used to it.
jet lag, everything.
And there won't be stealing of jewelry like in
No.
UCLA, but there may be sign stealing once you join the Big Ten. That's a possibility.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, but
Comedian.
we'll cover this little story here with apparently Colorado players, some of their jewelry getting stolen from the locker room in there during their loss to UCLA. That's terrible look for UCLA. I mean, Colorado draws in all these fans for you.
Well, they're a horrible school, so.
And brings in all these TV ratings for you during this game. And this is how your college general area. I mean, you can't put the blame on the college necessarily itself, but like on the security staff and all. This is how you treat Colorado for bringing. Basically, they definitely made you money that game. So for making them money, you let their players' jewelry get stolen.
Yeah, the Rose Bowl game, the Rose Bowl, which is never sold out for UCLA games. I'm telling you, I'm not making a joke here. I'm generally serious. Like half of the stadium is filled with like their banners and stuff that says UCLA on it. It's not because they don't sell out seats. I'm not taking a shot at them. That's just facts. And the first time this season, because they don't have the USC game this year, it's at the Coliseum. So there's your other sole sellout game that you're not going to have this year. But do you think those 75,000 fans were there to see Chip Kelly? Or this UCLA offense? No, sir. They were there to see the other guy, Deion Sanders, and his son. Maybe just Deion Sanders, but Travis Hunter too, I guess. You throw him in there. But mainly Deion. But yeah, that sucks. You never want to hear stuff like that. I hope it gets resolved, and I hope they find out who did it. Probably for UCLA's sake, they probably don't want to know who did it, but not a good look. After a very good win against Colorado too, I may add, UCLA looked pretty good.
Yeah.
At least from what I heard. They look pretty good. And I got a question for you. Did you hear about basically Deion Sanders throwing his whole O-line under the bus?
Yeah.
And what did you think about that?
I mean, he's not exactly wrong. Now, he did
recruit half of them.
Yes, he didn't full on pull Pitt coach. His name's slipping from my mind. Did you hear that clip over the weekend?
I'm pretty
Pitt's
sure.
coach. Pitt's coach was he was saying that they had a great roster last year, and he thought that he got the guys in to replace them this year, and then he's like, evidently we didn't though, and a whole bunch of players retweeted that press conference clip and was like, I can't believe this. Now, anyway, Prime. The thing with Prime is like he made it clear that like he doesn't have an issue saying you're not the guy. Like when he got rid of all those people early in the season, and I guess it was sort of not great pickings on the offensive line, but he kept who he thought was the best, and he sort of knew that was going to be their weakness coming into the season, and that's going to be the challenge for him this recruiting cycle, which I don't know. You're going to be relying more on the transfer portal to see an immediate impact rather than recruiting these going to be freshmen next year for college. So you're going to be relying a lot on the transfer portal to bring in guys who you think are going to help your offensive line take the next step, which is maybe Shedeur Sanders getting sacked 3 times a game instead of 8 at this point. But it'll be anything will be. Right now. Yeah, anything will be a step in the right direction because their line play is absolutely horrendous at this point. And it's not the glamorous Deion position on the field, that's for sure, but it's one of the most important ones. So I don't think he'll have any problem getting those recruits, though, or getting those transfers just because of the name, even though it's one of the less, like I said, flashy positions. And they don't – if anybody doesn't care or doesn't – give a rip at all about who Deion is, it's definitely the offensive lineman. I could tell you that, but they're still going to care some about being at Colorado with all this hype and definitely a better chance of getting some NIL money there too. So I think they'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and Deion said this, I think, after either the Colorado State win or the USC loss or something when he said in the press conference that you better get me now. Because in a couple years, when I start recruiting better and we get better guys in here, things are going to be different. So, I mean, yeah, listen, first 3 weeks into the season, everybody, was falling for Deion Sanders and this Colorado team. And look, now they're just another school like everybody else.
Yep.
It's crazy how college football can change like that, or any sport, but. I mean, we all knew that this Colorado team was not going to do anything, but it is a little alarming, though, that there are some bigger holes than maybe we thought.
Some people thought they were going to do something after those first couple weeks.
Yeah.
After that win to TCU.
It's true.
Last game we want to cover here. Oklahoma. You had the perfect opportunity. Yeah, Melo's gonna take a dump on you for this because you always do that to him in USC.
Yes.
But you had a perfect opportunity. You were lined up to be in line to win the Big 12 and maybe make it back to the college football playoff. And like, hey, this is looking great. Dillon Gabriel, Heisman
He's
hype.
the guy.
Yes, and then you go out and lose to Kansas, and Kansas is one of those teams where it's like, hey, you don't feel too bad about losing to them, but when you're 6th ranked Oklahoma, you can't be losing to anybody, frankly. Like, you shouldn't be losing at all. But tough game there. Oklahoma's still in a spot where they'll probably make it to the Big 12 championship, it seems like. But it's not 100% sure anymore. So, you had your future in your hands. You were controlling your own destiny. And there's no one to blame but yourselves because you messed this one up. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, ever since Lincoln Riley and everybody left for USC, it has been a never-ending war between USC fans and Oklahoma fans because whether Oklahoma fans are man enough to admit it or not, they're very salty and upset that Lincoln Riley left this great program in Oklahoma and went to Southern California. It's the same story. Have we not seen this in the past with Oklahoma? Where they'll fall flat, they'll have a good season and then they'll fall flat on their face. Maybe not this early, or maybe not this soon in the season, but we've seen it in Big 12 championship games. We've seen it against Texas. We've seen it against Oklahoma State. You know, for those fans over there that pump up their chests that they're this big, you know, they have one of the best traditions in college football and they're a marquee, you know, program. Relax, okay? You haven't won a national championship in like 20 years, okay? Relax.
What? I thought
Easy.
they won 5 in the last 6.
Hey, the way the fans talk, you think they would have, but you know, it was so nice for the USC fan to kind of take a little jab back at them over the weekend. And they were first to cry about it. Oh, you know, when Oklahoma loses, it's everybody's Super Bowl. They're always taking a dump on us. But it's all fun and games when USC loses to Utah and Notre Dame, and they're the first one in the comment section of USC. It's like, what goes around comes around, my friend.
That's right.
Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I don't know if I said that right. I sounded right in my head.
Yeah, seems right. Like I said, Oklahoma, you had the opportunity. You had it all in your hands. The world was in your hands. You took down Texas, who we thought was back, and you look great up to this point. And then, like Mello said, you fall flat on your face against
Enjoy
Kansas.
the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, it'd probably be... I'd be okay with Oklahoma, Penn State, some for Goodyear Bowl or
Yeah, New Year's
something
Six
like
Bowl or
that.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Peach
But,
Bowl or something.
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, whichever one it is this year. But I don't know. Come on now, Oklahoma. I had expectations for you now after you beat Texas. Like, you didn't have expectations coming into the year.
No, they
You
didn't.
weren't supposed to be very good. And then you beat Texas, and then it's like, hey, well, you kind of have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. Don't mess this up. And you go and mess it up. So, look what you did. That's your own fault. So, whatever.
See you next
I
year.
think that's exactly. See you next year. I think that's going to do it on college football side of things here, Mello. Appreciate you stopping by, giving your thoughts on USC. I'm sure it's painful, but
3 more games. We're getting there. Almost there. And we can start recruiting and come back next year.
almost to the Big Ten glory land.
Oh, yeah, that should be interesting.
That's right. We'll take care of you in the Big Ten. We'll treat you right, unlike the Pac-12.
Can we get Michigan's schedule? Can we get Michigan's schedule next year?
Yeah.
We'll be undefeated with that schedule.
Hey, a lot of teams would be undefeated with that schedule. Now, hey, they didn't play their 2 biggest games of the year yet, but
well, yeah, I mean, you literally play 11 games for Ohio State, so in preparation. And to their fairness, they beat them twice in a row, but now that's all in question.
yeah, it is. So we'll see. We have a couple more key games here on the college football slate before we get into playoff season. But yeah, college football playoff rankings dropping pretty soon here. So
Wednesday.
Look out for those. And yeah, that's gonna do it on the college football side. Let's jump over and talk a little NFL with Kyle. All right, bringing in our resident Giants fan, NFL guy, Kyle. We're talking a little NFL. Talk a little bit about the Chiefs finally losing to the Broncos for the first time in forever. A little bit. The Panthers get their first win of the season. That's exciting. Bryce Young. And then what's up with the 49ers? What's up with Brock Purdy? We'll get into all that here in a little bit. Kyle, tough loss for your Giants Sunday and just an overall ugly game, but how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It does, because I said this before, when the Giants give me hope, which is almost never, but when they do, I expect them to do something with it. And they gave me that little small chance of hope, and then they just crushed it right at the end. So, other than that, I'm doing all right. Not too bad.
Frustrating, frustrating loss there with the opportunity to win the game with a field goal and then go into overtime and have the Jets beat you nonetheless. That's a nice kick in the balls. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it stings. It stings, man, because, like, yes, the Giants have sucked for quite some time now, but the one thing that they've been able to do is keep the Jets at bay, and
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, on the news side, they trade away Leonard Williams to Seattle, get a second rounder in return, trying to shed a little cap. I guess is the main purpose there. You're not
Yeah.
full on committing to a tank by trading Leonard Williams, but it's
Mhm.
definitely a significant piece to trade.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, my first expectations was, um, I expected them to move some pieces away because draft capital is very important, and for the Giants, their history of drafting has not been that great, which kind of scares me a little bit. Yeah, I mean, a second round pick, it sounds nice, it sounds great,
Yeah.
but they can't draft for shit. So it's like, whatever. But no, Leonard Williams goes to a contender. I'm happy for that. I mean, I've always loved Leonard Williams. I think what he provides is such a great atmosphere on that D line. But it's like it sucks because this is not what I expected. I expected the Giants to try to, at least make some kind of like effort in this rebuild that we've been going on for the last 6, 7, 8 years. But no. But yeah, I'm hopeful with this second round pick. I'm really hoping that with this new regime of the Giants bringing in Joe Shawn and Brian Daboll, I really hope that something comes out of it. You know, but yeah, I mean, I expected it. I figured that they would move somebody, a few pieces. We'll see how the rest of this transpires. But yeah, I mean, good luck to Leonard Williams. I mean, I've never had any issues with him. I've always liked him. So
Yeah, there you go. A little Giants update there from Kyle. Before we jump
yeah,
into the, we're going to start with the Broncos beating the Chiefs.
yeah.
First time in 16 games.
Huh.
Back when Peyton Manning was still quarterbacking the Broncos and wasn't doing the Manning cast every Monday, or not every Monday, but occasionally on Mondays. I mean, Mahomes was still in college. Uh, I saw something that was the list like TikTok wasn't even a thing yet. All these crazy things of the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs, which is insane to think because that's a divisional opponent. You play them twice a year, and you get them at home every year. You think one of those times you'd be able to get the best of them, but the Chiefs have been on a pretty great run here. Um, excuse or not, I want to hear your opinion. Excuse or not, Mahomes was sick and had the flu.
uh, I get it, but you don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, look, I mean, Mahomes healthy or not, I mean, this Chiefs team is miles better than this Broncos team. I don't see any excuses of why they lost. You got your guys healthy. Travis Kelsey's finally on this field, ready to go. Patrick Mahomes, whenever you have him, flu game or not, I don't care. He's the best quarterback in football. He's been for the last however many years. Um, I mean, you gotta beat the Broncos. That's a loss you can't afford. And yes, it is the Chiefs. And yes, I'm sure this loss might not affect them at all. But guess what? If it does, I mean, you're gonna be looking back at this week and be like, why the hell didn't we beat the Broncos?
yeah,
But
exactly. You're gonna be saying we fumbled the ball 3 times and lost it 3 times, and Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in the game, so that's
I
tough.
mean, there's no excuse for that. I mean, it's the Broncos, man. Come on. You've had their number. You're used to them. You know what? You know them in and out. There's no reason for it. I mean, this should be a
Yeah,
season sweep every single year.
ex-
It,
exactly. Um,
So, I mean, for me personally, I understand, like, yeah, you want to bring it up, whatever, but it's no excuse. It's really not.
To me, if you're on the field, it doesn't really matter. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're good enough to get on the field, then we shouldn't be talking about you have an injury or you're sick because you chose to play. You thought you were good enough to play, so we're gonna be judging you that you chose to play. Um, I don't know. It's probably honestly might be the worst game Mahomes has played in his whole football career. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely his NFL career. I'd say it's first time in a long time he hasn't thrown for a touchdown pass. I mean, this is it. Hopefully, it's an anomaly for the Chiefs, and it sure seems to be because they've been doing pretty good all season, and obviously, like we said, rolling through the Broncos year after year at this point. And other than this game, the Broncos really haven't showed much to be excited about or look forward to this season. They've been pretty bad, but I don't know. It's you kind of got lucky. This Broncos team, I mean, yeah, you forced five turnovers. That's huge. But recovering fumbles can kind of go either way. It's all in the way the ball bounces. If those three fumbles bounce right back to the Chiefs players, and if you're not playing in a snow game like they were, who knows how this game ends up. Like,
Yeah.
the Chiefs easily could edge this victory out by a couple points instead of being on the losing end because they lost five, or they had five turnovers. So I don't think there's too much to be worried about if I was the Chiefs fan. But it's still, like you said, got to take care of business in that game.
Yep.
Um, 49ers and Brock Purdy. They've hit a little bump here, a little bump in the runway here. Here I was saying, finally, give Brock Purdy his flowers. Stop, take off this seventh round pick label and just let him cook. Let him be the guy. Give him the praise. He deserves it all. And now he's going back on me and having the worst 3 games of his NFL career at this point. And Bengals are able to take advantage of it, 31-17. You got a chance to see any of this game, and what'd you take away from it?
Yeah, so I was able to watch a little bit of it, and I think one of the biggest takeaways that you can take from this game and the 49ers is the fact of I said this earlier in the year. If this team is not 100% healthy, Brock Purdy's going to show, right? And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
I'm not calling out Brock Purdy. I'm really not. But it's hard not to succeed in a system like that. Kyle Shanahan is a very, very smart coach, one of the best in the NFL, and he proves it year after year. And the Niners front office put this super team basically on the field, and you can plug almost anybody in a quarterback, and they're gonna succeed. Now, I'm not saying that Brock Purdy still does not need to have the skill set run out of the pocket when he's getting rushed, stay in the pocket, find the passes that he needs to make, find the handoffs when he needs to hand them off. But it's kind of showing a little bit more now, and I'm not saying it's like like panic mode for Niners fans because it's not. I think this team will be okay when they're fully healthy, but that's a big if. They have to stay fully healthy because that's where Brock Purdy's going to show a little bit, and it's like I said, no shots at Brock Purdy. I think what he's done in this system, that's what's expected out of him, and he's been the guy. He's the Niners front office put all the trust in him. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is a little bloop, and it's not something they can necessarily afford. But I think they'll be okay at the end of it. But yeah, they got to get fully healthy. That's because if they're not, it doesn't look too good.
exactly. Debo Samuel, like you said, out for this game. Trent Williams, their stud left tackle, also out for this game, and that's huge for
Hmm.
your quarterback. That's like the two biggest pieces that could be out. Were out for you: a star wide receiver and a star left tackle.
Yep.
So it's I don't think it's a total cop out answer or like an excuse to say that his team was dealing with injuries, because they were. And if it was your team who had your star left tackle out and your star wide receiver, you'd be saying, well, it's okay that Jalen Hurts had a bad game. Like, he was dealing with all these injuries around his team. Like, it's okay. But it's easy for us to quick say, oh, Brock Purdy's not the guy anymore just because he had some injuries and wasn't able to overcome one of the best gadget guys in the game in Deebo Samuel, and probably the best left tackle in the game in Trent Williams being out. Like, that's a lot to overcome, and even the great players struggle to overcome injuries on the offensive line. I mean, you see that everywhere in the NFL. And now, wide receiver, it's a little different when you got George Kittle and McCaffrey still, and even Brandon Ayuk. So, like, they still got weapons there, but it's a lot easier for Brock Purdy to get exposed when he's missing all those weapons. So, I think that's sort of what we just saw on Sunday, is when he doesn't have all of his guys and they're not all at 100%, and they're facing an at least decent defense, there's going to be a chance that he struggles. And it's not a shot at Brock Purdy. It's just you're you're capable in the system, and you're able to make some nice throws, some nice moments. You got good intangibles too. So you're still all right there, Brock, okay? And the 49ers aren't going to move off you, hopefully. I would think not. Just, you got to get your guys healthy, and, yeah, then you're going to be rolling. You're going to be all right. It's going to be, hopefully, back to the Brock Purdy that you were before these last three games here. So I'm not too worried for the Niners. Bengals, though, on the other hand, they just keep trending on up. They look great now.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I really didn't think it would be too long before this team turns it around. Joe Burrow just needed to figure it out a little bit, and he did that. T. Higgins looked good, man. He looked great. That's a really, really positive sign for this Bengals team. You know, that 1-2 punch with him and Chase. I mean, you kind of need that. But yeah, I mean, I think it starts with Burrow. Burrow needed to come back around, get fully healthy. Not, the Bengals just throwing him out there and expecting him to be the 100% healthy Joe Burrow that he's proved in the past. He's still human, by the way, just letting everybody know that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, he just needed to become fully healthy, get back into the rhythm of things, and that's exactly what he did. And that's why the Bengals are trending up the way they are.
Yeah, and this AFC North is going to turn out to be quite an interesting race going down. Yep. Steelers are still hanging around. I mean, even though they lost to Jacksonville, they're still hanging around there. Remember, they beat the Ravens just 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever that was. Yep. Ravens, like I just said, they're looking great too. So this isn't anybody's running away with it right now. I mean, this is still, the Ravens are still in this, Bengals are still in this, Steelers are still in this. Browns aren't quite there, but like they've won 2 division games. I think they beat the Steelers, and I think they beat the Steelers. I don't know. I could be talking totally out of turn right now, but I'm pretty sure they have some division wins. We'll do a real quick check here. But yeah, this is like AFC North. This is what you expect. At least those 3 teams. I mean, we're used to counting the Browns out at this point. But yeah, Browns 4-3 on the season, so they're same record as the Steelers and the Bengals. They beat the Bengals to start the season, lost to the Steelers, lost to the Ravens. So they do have that win over the Bengals, which would be why they're listed as ahead of the Bengals in the tiebreaker. But yeah, this Browns defense looks good. Obviously, quarterback issue with Deshaun Watson just not playing, and when he does, he doesn't look good either. So, yeah. I mean, I think they rolled out P.J. Walker yesterday, so Or if they didn't even play yesterday, I don't think. Did they?
Not
No.
entirely sure.
Oh, yeah. They lost to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Seahawks.
I mean, PJ
Yes.
Walker's been their guy for quite a few weeks now.
Yeah. So kind of a mess in Cleveland there with the whole quarterback position, but that defense is good enough to cover some of those holes up at this point. Final game we want to talk about. Congratulations to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. You got your first win on the season here. You're the last team to the party. Everybody else had a win for a little while now, and it took you guys a little bit to catch up. He beats his, I don't want to say new rival, but the guy he's been compared to in C.J. Stroud, and everybody was saying that the Panthers made a big mistake by trading away DJ Moore, everybody to get the number 1 overall pick to take Bryce Young. I might tend to agree with them at this point because it's looking like he might be a little small for the NFL. Imagine that. Everybody talked about that coming into the draft process, but he gets his first win, and the Texans were never a great team. You kind of sort of smelled this one. It was like, I'm going to pick the Texans. They should win this, but it really wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers win this game because it's going to happen at some point. And I mean, it was a close game. It took a walk-off field goal to win it for the Panthers, but still, a win is a win. What do you got on either of these teams, Panthers or the Texans?
It's tough. They're bottom feeders in this league, and Houston they were surprising me a little bit. I was excited to see some Texans football for once, but I think both these franchises have their guy at quarterback. It's going to take a while because the team around them is is like barely anything.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if you'd want to call it an NFL team. Even my Giants are looking a little bit better than this. So, I mean, good for the Panthers. Just keep drafting good, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Same with Texas, man. Both these teams are going to have very high draft picks this season. I'm rooting for you. If that's all I got, really.
I mean, yeah, it's tough. Neither of us are really tuning in to watch Panthers. That's not a appointment watching at this point. And the Texans aren't quite there either, even though, sure, they're trending in the right direction. They got exciting pieces to watch with C.J. Stroud. He's looked great. He was breaking rookie records this season for a quarterback, so he's been looking pretty good. You got exciting pieces to build around there with receiver Nico Collins. He's looked pretty good. New head coach D'Amico Ryans, whatever that's worth. I mean, there's pieces there for the Texans. Panthers, you're still a little bit further away, I'd say. You don't even know if you have the right head coach. Honestly, I don't think at this point know if you have the right quarterback. You don't really have any pieces around him anyway to sort of judge that off of. Like, you can't be judging him too hard off of his best receiver is Adam Thielen in like year 18 at this point. The guy's like 37. I mean, come on now. Yeah. For a white guy, that's probably like age 45 to be in the NFL. No, I'm just kidding.
Man.
But you can't be judging him too hard. But then again, the NFL is so fast. Like, if they have the number 1 pick, which they can't anyway because they traded away to the Bears. But if they did have the number 1 overall pick, you can't tell me the thought wouldn't cross their mind of drafting Caleb Williams and trading away. You could find somebody to take Bryce Young.
Oh, yeah.
But that's how quickly the NFL moves off of quarterbacks. They don't care. Like, if you don't win in your first couple years, you don't look good, even your first year.
Unless you're
we'll
the
ship
New
you
York
off somewhere else.
Giants.
They seem to be in love with Danny Jones. I don't know what they're seeing, but
listen, to any future, kids, whatever age they would be at the moment. If you're ever drafted by the New York Giants and you're a quarterback, just guess what? You can do whatever the hell you want, and your job security is all the way up here. Just remember that.
Shout out Tommy DeVito.
Hell
Never even
yeah,
heard
man.
that guy before today or before yesterday.
Practice squad quarterback. Gotta love it. Hey,
Yeah,
Tyrod Taylor
look,
is turning some heads over here, man. Let me tell you.
Tyrod Taylor is one of those guys. When I was at like peak Madden playing in like probably like Madden 20, he'd be a guy. I like to draft a quarterback before like to start. I don't know, it just made me feel good to scout a quarterback, find the next stud. So you'd start with a team with an old quarterback, trade him away, then you'd have to sign a decent quarterback for 1 year till you could get to the draft. I'm like, hey, Tyrod Taylor, I mean, there's a guy who can run and he can at least somewhat throw. So
Exactly.
that's what I'm looking for in Madden. I was like, heck yeah, bring him over for like a 5th-round draft pick. And I'd be like leading him to like MVP case. And then I'd be like, do I really want to draft a quarterback at this point anyway? But yeah, that's what was going through the Giants fans' mind before he got injured. So,
Yep, exactly.
unless you got anything else, that's really going to wrap it up here on the NFL side, I think.
Yeah, man. I don't think so. Tyrod Taylor, get healthy. We need you back at quarterback because now we have our backup coming back this week. So don't worry. That starting job is still yours, buddy.
That's right.
Oh,
Yep, Daniel
God, I
Jones
forgot
cleared for
about it.
action again.
Yeah, he'll be back next week against the Raiders. So
You don't sound
they're I
excited.
I think they're rushing him. I really do because before they cleared him, all of a sudden he's supposed to be out for still a few more weeks, and now all of a sudden he's back. I just don't think the Giants trusted Tommy DeVito to be throwing balls. I mean, the entire time he was in the game, Saquon Barkley was the only thing on that offense working. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, hey, good luck. But yeah,
Like
no,
I
that's
said
all.
earlier,
That's all.
not a good time to be a Giants fan, but what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, that's what sports is all about. You stick with your team. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, always.
that's gonna do it for this episode. So, thank you guys for tuning in, watching, listening. Thanks to Mello for hopping on the college football side, get a little NFL talk in here with Kyle, and yeah, we will see you again next week. As the MLB season winds down, because if you didn't know, we're sort of working here with both hands. We've got the covering both sports, baseball and football. As the baseball season winds down, we might see 2 football episodes a week. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Plan for it. Recording Monday. See you later.
Later.